What is up, guys? Welcome to the Al Bank Show, episode 11, and I'm your host, Muha. Today, with us, we are having an amazing guest, and you did see the announcement on our Twitter, right? We are having Michael Wagner as a co founder of Star Atlas. He has over 10 years' experience in blockchain and crypto industry. He also has a formal background in capital market analysis, economics, and valuation method. He also has founded multiple companies which are centered around an emerging blockchain and cryptocurrency industry. The recent one that he has found is Star Atlas, which are we gonna talk about today. Star Atlas is a AAA game based in the year 2620. It's a AAA game played and graphics powered by Unreal Engine 5, which is itself is huge. I will not talk more about this amazing project that we are having today. I will let my speaker, which is perfect speaker for that, Michael. Can you hear us well? And welcome.
Hey Muha, yeah, can hear you great. Great to be here.
Amazing. We are very honored to have you here as a CEO of Star Atlas. I mean, you've been in the industry for such a quite a lot of time, and we hope we will educate our users more about metaverse, gamify, Web3, and blockchain technology. So yeah, Michael, are you ready for our questions?
I am the rapid fire round. I am ready. Pleasure to be here. Yeah, looking forward to it.
The pleasure is ours. I mean, we have three parts of our show. The first one will be free chat that we will have after I'm done explaining. The second part will be AMA questions, a couple of questions from our users and from our side. And the last part will be ending. So let's go. Please, Michael, tell us what has been on your mind recently.
Well, a lot has been on my mind recently, but primarily because we have a lot of innovation and a lot of development going on across the Star Atlas ecosystem in the form of various implementations, or you could consider these product lines, but different ways to access Star Atlas. We're doing our philosophy and our ethos is very heavy on co-creation, co-development, and accessibility to the underlying tech stack that we've created, and enabling developers and innovators, creators, artists to all come in and participate in some way in the Star Atlas ecosystem. And I won't dive too deep into all of it right now, but the major focus, the major emphasis is what's right in front of us. What do we have available today? What does the activity across those environments look like right now? What can we do to make these things better? And what is our roadmap for the future? And that's what I occupy pretty much every day and every second of my life with.
Amazing. I mean, and you guys be building in the bear market for sure. I mean, we see a lot of tweets and a lot of things, news coming from your side. And how did you get in the crypto world, if we can call that?
Yeah, you you kind of mentioned at the in the intro that I've been in the space for a long time. I'm actually just coming up on my 10-year anniversary being involved in crypto, and my entry point and foray into crypto was through script coin mining with GPUs. And this, in a way, feeds into my backstory. You know, ex-finance guy, hold a CFA charter, worked in portfolio management and in investment management, and but also grew up as a hardcore gamer, and in fact a self-described giant nerd in this computer group in high school that we called the Lanarchists. And this was in the 90s. It was the local area networking days, and our weekends, our parties were spent bringing our computers and our CRT monitors over to friends' houses and just networking them together and playing games all weekend. So pretty demure in terms of parties, drinking Mountain Dew and eating pizza. Um, but one of my buddies from that group, about a decade after high school, we were on a bicycle ride together, and he started talking to me about Bitcoin and about these script coins and these markets that were opening up. And you know, crypto in many ways I think is still the Wild West today. But when I reflect back on what the dynamic was like back in 2013, just incredible progress. And in a way institutionalization of the crypto space, but better credibility and more reputability in the space. But um, when he told me that he was mining this cryptocurrency with GPUs, I was immediately captivated because we grew up building all of our own computers. And he showed me these milk rigs in his house, that milk crates that had a motherboard and a couple of GPUs strapped on, and no monitor. It was just all it was there for was mining crypto. And so I dove in on that head first. I started building a bunch of rigs around my house and blowing out circuit breakers all over the house, and I was hooked. And it wasn't until later in 2015, in the middle of another bear market, when I was trying to get some traction and adoption with the investment advisors that I was working with to introduce Bitcoin as an asset class in client portfolios. And the funny thing is the sentiment at the time and the stigma was really bad. And I remember specifically one of these portfolio managers saying, "Don't even talk about Bitcoin in the office. Like, don't bring it up." And that was kind of a decision point in my life. And I said, you know what, really believe in this technology and how it empowers people and what the capabilities are going to be in the future. And I just went full-time crypto, gave up the career, and focused on trading at first. That ultimately evolved into me launching my first company in crypto. This was back in 2016. It's a project called Tokes, and the idea there was to develop payment and financial solutions for the legal cannabis industry in the U.S. and globally. We had some major traction there and some big successes, but what's kind of interesting is, and almost ironic, is that Star Atlas was born out of uh, kind of controversy and bad markets in 2020, and it was really on the tail end of the pandemic when one door closed for us with Tokes in this company, Multi-Chain Ventures. A big opportunity closed because of the pandemic, and that was when we sat down. I sat down with two of the other co-founders, Danny Floyd and Jacob Floyd. That's our chief product officer and chief technology officer, and started talking to them about the potential of creating a gaming product using Web3 technology. And the rest is kind of history. I'm sure we'll get into it more, but that's the backstory. That's how it all got started.
Definitely. I mean, what I myself is a gamer. I mean, and you are a gamer. I mean, what I want to ask, do you think the gamers will bring the mass adoption to the crypto world or blockchain? I mean,
This has been our thesis since the beginning. I wholeheartedly believe in that because I think um, not only being in financial services and living through the evolution of crypto and blockchain development over the last decade, what I don't necessarily want to say is that blockchain lacks utility. I think Bitcoin itself is a standalone asset that is um, unbeatable and uncomparable in terms of censorship resistance and true decentralized network states. But the primary motivation for people to get involved in crypto historically has been speculation. It's been trading or mining to some extent, and even DeFi, which is a bit of a gamification itself of a traditional financial system. Um, but what I think we have yet to see is a true consumer application that has demand outside of things like financial incentives or financial motivation. And while we're able to weave that same dynamic into Star Atlas gameplay through play to earn and through our economy, the primary driver for usage is entertainment. It's fun. It's about creating a great product that people want to interact with and want to engage with simply because it's a great product. And then we can enhance that with all of the various blockchain and crypto integrations that we have throughout the ecosystem.
I know you didn't mention actually about being in the crypto for such a long time, and I mean, 1 year in crypto is 7 years in outside world,
Yeah.
for sure. And I mean, you did see a lot of projects going on, and you did see what metaverse lacks. So can you tell us more about the history? Why did you create Star Atlas and the story behind it?
Yeah, so this was it was mid 2020, and as I said, we had one opportunity close on us as a result of the pandemic, and um, just being an active user and maybe not the earliest of early adopters, but seeing the trends that were taking place in crypto, which was the success of DeFi was the growth of NFT ecosystems and a very nascent early stage of GameFi or Web3 gaming, which, in many cases were highly simplified graphics, very basic gameplay mechanics and gameplay loops, oftentimes card style games and turn-based games. And there is application for that and utility for that people really enjoy. But um, when I was having this discussion with the other co-founders, the idea was the coalescing of all of those different elements into a AAA game, into a game that would be attractive to a mainstream audience. That's something that's never been done before, and that's something that actually has, well, mainstream appeal, because you're creating a product that you otherwise would develop for that mainstream audience. We're just taking all of the advantage of all of the benefits of Web3, which are things like there's a lot here, and I won't necessarily run through all of them, but one is true asset ownership through NFTs and SFTs. This is very powerful for the user. It's effectively ownership and ability to transact in those items that you've purchased or that you've possessed or you've earned through gameplay. It's the creation of a functional, sustainable, and real world integrated economy. This is the idea of play to earn, which I do have a hot take on, by the way, which is that play to earn is not dead. Just because it hasn't been executed in a sustainable fashion in the past doesn't mean we can't create a real economic system within a game that rewards players that that will fail. Right? We believe it's possible to do this in a fashion that can succeed. And then the third part here for us is where we've taken an extremely progressive approach, a challenging approach, but it's the idea of true on-chain gaming logic, extracting and abstracting gameplay mechanics from an engine like Unreal Engine or Play Canvas and building those into Solana programs or smart contracts, wherein that becomes the source of truth for all of our different game environments. It doesn't matter if you're in Unreal Engine or in the browser or playing on the mobile app, you're actually playing a unified experience. It's just a different way to get exposure to that Star Atlas ecosystem, which also widens the possible audience to virtually the entire global population. You can be a traditional gamer. You can just be on a browser. All you have is a mobile phone. You can tap into the same unified economy and universe of Star Atlas and be a part of this idea. And that's further extended by the idea of composability with these on-chain game systems, wherein anybody can now build an extension, a modification, a decentralized application that seamlessly and permissionlessly integrates within our entire ecosystem. So very wide audience potential for users across Star Atlas.
And you did catch on my second question, and I will be righted. We can say that. I mean, how do you guys, and you did mention it, how do you guys differentiate yourself from the other Yamafy projects?
By and large, I think the two biggest differentiators are quality. One, so that's building to AAA standards, which is a term that gets thrown around a lot. AAA really just being best in class development of a gaming product. But it consists not only of graphical fidelity, it's visual effects, it's sound effects, it's music composition, it's gameplay mechanics, it's economic balance, it's um, all of these things combined make a AAA product and an engaging product. And so again, it's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but it's something that we have deep experience in and deep capability in. And when you look at the content that is posted from Star Atlas, when you look at ships, you look at the level of detail on characters, when you think about the fact that you're able to explore the interior of your ship and interact with drawers and cabinets and arsenal and navigate different rooms and living spaces and entertainment areas and obviously the cockpit so that you can fly the thing and the different perspectives that you can have while you're playing. That's what makes Star Atlas AAA, and that's what makes the product AAA. And that is one of the areas that I think we have strengths and strong competitive advantages is just in the sheer quality. Now, the other aspect, though, and this is the part that I mentioned, is quite challenging because not only are we on the bleeding edge using different game engine technology like, Unreal Engine and keeping up with all of the latest patches and building in UE 5.3, all of the early access development features, but we're also pioneering the idea of on-chain development. So most of the gaming projects that are out there, and I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way to do this, but most of the projects that are out there, the extent of their blockchain integration is probably just having NFT asset class in the game. For us, as I said, taking that gaming logic, putting it in smart contracts, that opens up a world wherein any developer can build something that seamlessly integrates into the game. That's the reason why we're taking this approach. It means that you could build your own storyline, your own gameplay mode, your own game entirely, and in fact, leverage the game systems that we've deployed on chain, and leverage the same assets that are available in the Star Atlas ecosystem freely in your gameplay. So it kind of gives a head start to that developer in creating a product and um, giving them access to one of the biggest assets of any company, which is the customer base or the user base. In our case, the gamers, the players, and those players that already own Star Atlas assets might be more inclined to engage in some other gaming concept if they know that their asset from Star Atlas works in that game as well. This is the idea of composability. So between those two things, I think again we have a very strong competitive advantage in the space. And to the extent that this thesis of open access and co-development is successful, we're well positioned to benefit from that success.
And we did touch on the history of you guys and how do you guys plan to and you are actually, pardon me, different in itself from the other gamify projects, and you're doing well. So but I want to touch more about the game and kind of explain more to our users and everyone watching this. I mean, how does the game use blockchain technology to create a decentralized and present virtual world that you guys have, that it's owned and operated by the players? That's a key thing that you guys have with the Star Atlas. I mean,
It
everything
is.
owned by the players.
Yeah, that's the really ambitious component of our vision is the idea that through time, this idea of Star Atlas, this ecosystem that has been created here, is genuinely owned by the players. We're very much about individual empowerment and giving people ownership um, in the platform as a result of their contribution and engagement with the platform as well. And so there's 3 or 4 different ways that this all works, but the first of those again is the NFT concept. So you have digital record of transaction history and possession of any of these limited quantity assets that are within the universe, as well as those things that people are crafting and creating and trading with one another within the game. Um, it is worth probably emphasizing that point just a little bit more because historically, and any of the gamers in the audience will know, um, when you play a traditional game, you don't really own anything in that game. You don't even own your account or your character in that game. And in fact, within the terms of service, it's expressly prohibited for you to buy, sell, trade that any items or character or account data with any other players. And so, the big revolution with NFTs is we're not only saying that that's not expressly prohibited, we're saying we encourage you to create value in this ecosystem based on spending time and having a good time while you do it. Oh, and here's a marketplace that you can freely trade this peer to peer with everyone else. So that is one part that's really powerful that I think is underestimated presently. The second step is the economic integration. So again, all of the assets and a lot of the gameplay, every item that's in Star Atlas is an on-chain asset. So not only is it freely tradable with other players, um, speaking again to the potential for innovation, things like people creating maybe a forward or futures commodity market that focuses on the various resources that are necessary for gameplay in Star Atlas, like that potential exists for us. So that again is opening doors. The on-chain logic portion of this allows other developers and innovators to co-create with us. And then there's the whole governance system, which there's a lot of discussions about DAOs out there right now, I think by and large, DAOs are not fulfilling their potential. The decentralized autonomous organizations, a lot of people are passive participants in DAO, largely because, again, there's financial incentives associated with it. But what we really want to see is the elimination of voter apathy. We want people to want to participate in creating proposals and voting on those proposals, outcomes that will drive the future versions of this ever evolving universe that is Star Atlas. And so we actually see quite high participation in our DAO, uh, particularly in metrics like, total value locked, or the total circulating supply that is retained or participating in the DAO itself. And our DAO is also multifaceted. We have a Panaculum DAO that's available today, govern.staratlas.com, where you can participate in these different lockers. One for Atlas, the in-game currency; the other one for Polis, which is that governance token. But within the game itself, since inception, we've always conceptualized this as having a political strategy gameplay loop. And so your political weight and power, as a politician within the game, is driven through a hierarchy of different DAOs. So the Panaculum DAO, which is ecosystem wide, there's faction DAOs for the 3 different factions within the game, and then there's localized governments or localized DAOs as well. And so if you as a player want to capture a region of space and be able to impose taxes on other players that are maybe transporting goods through the area that you control, well, a lot of that is going to be driven by this Polis token and how you leverage that in political strategy in game.
So basically, they have mini their own world there in the game. I mean, they have everything they want.
I think in many ways, what we're creating in Web3 and the idea of the metaverse is a very close approximation or simulation of the way the real world works. And that's especially true with Star Atlas with our gameplay mechanics, because we have these deep layers of complexity, so that someone that wants a more simplified experience still can get in and play. But for those people who want to break down the minutia all the way to a granular level, there's opportunity for niche specialization of different activities. You can be the CEO of a corporation in the game, or you can be a data runner or a bounty hunter or a fighter. You can be on security patrol, or you could focus on some other elements of the game, like resource extraction, crafting, logistics, and supply chain management, all items that people within the game need, but perhaps don't have the capability or bandwidth to create these industrial facilities that allow them to execute on everything. So the player really has to decide, do I want to specialize in one area, or do I want to spread myself thin and try to manage all of these different aspects? What gives me more fun? What gives me more entertainment value? And also, what's perhaps the most economically rewarding for me as well?
And by actually crafting their things, they can earn money in real life.
That's right.
That's something amazing about the blockchain technology in the whole. I mean, I want to ask about what are the benefits and risk also about joining the faction in the game. I mean, how can players switch factions if they want to?
So there's 3 core factions in the game. There's the Mud, the Ooster, and the Oni. Now, the Mud is kind of the future evolution of mankind in lore. So it's the future human race. The game's based in the year 2620, by the way. So some 600 years in the future. But so that's the future humankind. Ooster is a sentient android being in class, and then the Oni is a consortium of various alien races across the galaxy and universe of Star Atlas. Each of those will have some specialization, which could be in stealth, it could be in manufacturing, it could be in diplomacy. So there's some minor benefits. Now, being fully transparent, it's a bit superficial right now, as we're still early stage development on a lot of these gameplay mechanics. But with respect to changing factions, we've largely taken the position that you're not able to change factions. And this is pretty common for most games. Once you create a character with a specific faction alignment, that's what your character is locked into. Now, where this gets a bit blurry is we've also created a fully on-chain profile and character system. And this is a hierarchy of accounts that lets you not only create an account, manage permissions of assets, asset usage. You can think about permissions to loan out your ship to a friend or lend it out to someone for revenue or a revenue share of their earnings from the game. But within that structure, you can also create various characters. So while a single character is locked to a single faction, you can of course create multiple characters within your profile and have a character in each faction if that's something that you want to do. That's something that we're not preventing, because each one of those characters needs to go through their individual progression to unlock certain features, asset classes, and benefits within the game.
And you did mention actually the ships and the weapons and everything in the game that the players have, and how can the players customize their ships and equip them with different weapons? I mean, models. You guys have a lot of models. We can say that skins, and how can players even earn, spend, or even stake those, if it's possible, stake those governance token? And what are the advantages of doing that?
Yeah, I'll start kind of in reverse there. So we do have these two lockers on that governed site right now. There's an Atlas locker and a Polis locker. Each of them comes with separate benefits. So starting with the Polis locker, this is where you lock the Polis token. You're able to earn some emissions of the Polis token. So you're kind of stacking your Polis by earning emissions. But this also creates what we call Polis voting power, or PVP. This is essentially a curve, a metric of the value of your voting weight, and it's based on it's a function of two variables. So the duration that you have the tokens locked, as well as the quantity that you have locked. So the higher the quantity, obviously, the higher your PvP. The longer you lock that into the Polis locker, the higher your PvP as well. So that goes from anywhere from zero point zero 0.08 multiplier if you're locked for a short period of time, all the way up to a 10x multiplier if you're locked for a long period of time. And so you can kind of get 10 times your voting weight if you lock for 5 years. Interestingly, what we see is about so we're probably about 30% of the total circulating supply of Polis that's locked in this locker right now, but we see another 30 to 35% of that amount locked at 5 years. So this is, I think, a demonstration of conviction in long-term prospects of Star Atlas itself. Now, the Atlas locker also provides a smaller amount of Polis emissions, but the big benefit there is that we have a tiered structure that provides you discounts on royalty fees when you're trading on the marketplace. So the marketplace is something that we've created from scratch, from the ground up. It's where you trade all Star Atlas assets, and based on the amount of Atlas that you have locked beyond those Polis emissions, you get discounts to a 6% base fee structure. You can take that all the way down to 0.85%. And this is pretty important when you think about our model for even for play to earn, but our economic model is largely driven by matching consumers and producers. So people that are creating items in the game that are looking for a way to sell those. There's another player that wants to buy that item. Fuel would be a great example. Everybody needs to consume fuel throughout the game. But not everybody is going to be producing it. Now, if you want to engage in competitive combat racing and tournaments, you'll be consuming food, fuel, ammunition, toolkits as you do that. And maybe you just care about that racing gameplay loop. Well, somebody has to produce and create all of those resources, those consumable resources that you purchase. We as a studio don't sell those. The only way they're created is through the player base. And that, again, is the big paradigm shift here. Is historically every studio would say, we're the only ones that have the rights to sell these items because that's what produces revenue for them. And we're saying, no, we're actually not selling it at all. Only players can create it and sell it. And here's a marketplace where you guys can transact in that.
Wow, I just only gonna say wow. There's so much ways for the players to earn and interact with the game itself. So,
You
what
had
the
also you had also asked about various ways to customize.
sure.
And so some of the features that we have coming up actually in the next release, and I should probably note here, our approach to development is an iterative one. And so what we focus on is creating smaller gameplay loops that ultimately evolve and form the broader open world seamless MMO of the future. And so that means that maybe every couple of months we have a major game update with new mechanics that come out. We actually already have Star Atlas as a client that's downloadable on Epic Game Store. So anybody in the audience that wants to play now can go download and start playing. Caveat being, it is closed early access, and you'll need a game access key to download it. But join us in Discord. We can get you the game access key. Discord GG/Star Atlas, and we're pretty liberal with distributing out those game access keys. But so you can play now. In the next feature release, though, we're adding things like ship mastery, ship configuration. And so this is where not only will your character progress, the specific vehicle that you're flying will progress, and then you can swap out in your loadout different components, and that's engines, thrusters, shields, artillery, different weapons. Those can also level up and progress, and they're also components that are going to be craftable by other players. Once again, you can make the decision of, I want to engage in the crafting loop so I can create a new weapon for my ship, or you know what, somebody already crafted it. I'm just going to buy it from them, and I'll have a better ship out on the race course. But what this partially leads to, of course, we have probably billions of different skin combinations that can be created, and the crafting of skins is another area where we as a company are saying, we're not going to create the skins that everybody buys. The skins can only be created through resource consumption, resource extraction, and then the production and minting of these skins that they can sell to other players. This is another avenue of call it play to earn. It's all user generated content. It's all UGC. And so you can think of, say, an artist who loves our ships or loves our characters and has the capability to create great skins for them. They have to get the resources from somewhere to create the skins. Other players are creating the resources. They create the art, they mint the asset, and then they sell that skin to players in the game.
And it's all connected.
That's the key point, is that every one of these environments, every one of these implementations is all interconnected through this base layer that is blockchain and through digital assets.
2 questions ago, you did mention the factions 3, and now I have a questions about the main features and challenges of the 3 regions. We need to mention that we have 3 regions in the game, right?
That's right.
In the space, so the inner, outer, and deep space. Am I right?
That's right. Yeah. So we call them the safe zone, the medium risk zone, and the high risk zone. Yeah. So each of those has different levels of risk that the player will need to tolerate if they want to go explore those regions. Now, the safe zone, there's no PvP combat, so you're pretty free to explore and learn the ropes, learn how to play the game. Of course, naturally, the economic incentives in that safe zone are the lowest as well. It's not until you start to explore into deeper regions of space with less security that you're able to extract the most rare materials, the highest value materials in the end game content. Now, the medium risk zone does have PvP or will have PvP combat enabled. However, it's I don't want to say non-consequential, but it's lower consequence. You can respawn your ship. You'll have to pay for the respawn fee. You'll also have to pay to repair your ship, and you'll have to wait a period of time for that ship to become accessible to you again. Now, what we haven't introduced yet is the idea of the high risk zone with permanent death and destruction of assets. And the way we've outlined it in the white paper is that exploring into the high risk zone means if your ship gets destroyed, it gets permanently destroyed. It is burned off the chain, and so the asset is gone. Now the victor in that battle or that engagement will be able to salvage materials and components from your ship, maybe capture some of your crew members. But this actually creates future deflation in the assets overall. Once a ship is destroyed, it's destroyed. Now, that can be offset to some extent because there will be ship crafting in the future. So players are empowered to collect the resources and manufacture these ships, which they can then sell to other players. But uh, uh, again, the kind of the thrill of being out in high risk is you're really putting it all on the line.
And I guess, I mean, if they are gonna go in the high risk, they will get so much more rewards for sure.
That's right. The resource emissions are higher, but again, rarity and scarcity of resources. Some resources are only extractable from the high risk zone, so it will play into future gameplay strategy and how you execute those missions out into high risk zone.
Definitely. I mean, the people need to stack up those resources, make the best ship, and go step by step for sure.
Yeah. What's interesting, we have a vibrant community, but also a vibrant guild system across Star Atlas today. We call them DACs, decentralized autonomous corporations, but there's a number of pirate guilds, and their whole gameplay modality is to patrol deep space, the high risk zone, and look for players that they can just destroy and capture their ships and capture items from them.
Hmm. I mean, if the users are hearing this, I mean, make your own legions. And well, I want to ask question about that. Where there'll be the groups that can people join in and be together against another group, maybe?
Yeah, right now, most of the guilds, the DACs, are organized just through various discords. A good starting point, if you're just getting into Star Atlas, is to stop by our Discord. It's very active, but we also have an amazing community that's willing to help people um, through various questions. We
I'm
have a
gonna
great
put the link down there. I mean, in this description for sure for everything. So don't you worry about
yeah.
that.
No, perfect. We also have an amazing community team and good customer support, and everything you need is largely centered on Discord today. All of the guilds, well, by and large, the guilds have their own separate Discords. But I'm glad you bring it up because one of the features that we have coming up that's in development right now is the idea of a DAC platform, which is on-chain guild registration, name selection, um, marketing and promotion, and recruiting. And so when this is online, you'll be able to browse through the different DACs that are registered, align yourself with whatever their preference is for gameplay. Just like any other MMO, some people might prefer PvE. Some people are really into the PvP. Some people are into logistics. Other people are into various forms of combat. But you'll be able to align yourself with that guild that is attractive to you. Request admission to that, and start playing with these various alignments in the game.
And we did actually touch on that, I team. I mean, we did touch on my next question, and that's the future of your project. I mean, so you did mention now what are you guys planning? I mean, I'm glad that I did try to sneak that question in, and maybe we are the first one who is gonna hear about it. But the question is about the roadmap for Star Autos development in for the next couple of years. I mean, can we touch on those themes?
We can, and I will just preface this with obviously everything here is subject to change. There's a lot of variability in development as we move forward, and it's important for us to be agile and dynamic in the way that we build out. The I'm primarily focused on what's in the immediate future, and so what we do have available and playable today is a product that's called Labs. And maybe I'll take a moment just to describe again. We have a hyper realistic AAA MMO being developed in Unreal Engine 5. That's on Epic Game Store. That's our flagship product line, if you will. But we also have a browser implementation of the game. This is built in Play Canvas. It will be with 3D assets using WebGL. And then we have a mobile implementation, which is a kind of a move to earn. But the concept behind it is not that you're actually earning when you uh, engage in walking, running, or cycling. You're leveling a character up, you're progressing a character, and you're earning trinkets and different things for that character. That character is something that you can also sell to someone else because the character is a part of your ship configuration. The crew that you have on board contributes to the attributes of your ship itself. So we do have these three different uh, environments that you can engage in. Again, all coalesce through the the synchronization um, through Solana. Um, what we have available right now are a number of different features on play.staratlas.com, something called Faction Fleet, where you can enlist ships that you own, and that will effectively earn you Atlas. Something called Faction Claims that produces some resources that people use, consumable resources. And then the big thing that we just released was Sage Labs. Now, this is actually a 2D implementation of our browser product line, and it's all on chain, and it's all about exploring the universe in your faction, extracting resources, crafting components. We have a $1.5 million loot table, so people are earning loot. They're redeeming these craftable items for loot right now. And we also have this cool thing that we came up with. It's called the Golden Ticket event, and so players are able to craft golden tickets and contribute those to a weekly drawing. And that's coming out really soon, actually, in the next couple of weeks. These drawings will go live. Every week, we're distributing between $150,000 and $300,000 in loot during this drawing. And the only way you can get the tickets is by crafting them in game or buying them from other players who have crafted them. Um, this product has seen a pretty phenomenal success right out of the gate. We're somewhere around 1,500 daily active users. We've seen transaction volumes increase substantially, 2 to 3x across the board. We're seeing a lot of player-to-player secondary transactions go on, and some of the headlines that we've gotten so far. Now, this wasn't us stating this, but uh, because it's all these mechanics are on chain, we can see how many daily transactions we're doing. So, we're approaching 1.5 to 2 million transactions per day. Some days in excess of that, making up anywhere from 10 to 15% of the total network transaction volume on Solana every single day. One of the headlines that we saw from Decrypt is that Star Atlas, this single game, Sage Labs, exceeds the total transaction volume on Polygon, which is pretty wild. And one gaming product is exceeding the transaction volume on an entire layer 2 network. But encourage everyone to check that out, because as that product evolves into the 3D browser environment, which is what's coming up next for that, everything that you've produced, created, or progressed while in that gameplay is forward compatible. So you're essentially just getting a head start, if you will, for that 3D browser gameplay.
And that's all happening in the bear market. What can we expect in the bull market?
Yeah, I don't want to be a moon boy, but I think our prospects are extremely promising. Again, seeing great engagement on each of the different implementations, but I'm extremely excited for the next feature release that's coming up for the MMO. And so this is what we call Showroom. It's part of our game client, but it's the core environment that people are able to interact with today. Now, there's a number of things you can do right now. So there's a couple of different time trial modes of racing, 2 in-air courses where you're going through checkpoints and gates in air, and then 1 ground course. It's a hover racing course. This is going to evolve into the multiplayer competitive combat racing. I've often described it as kind of a pod racing or Mario Kart, just on steroids. And so you're picking up boosts and items as you navigate the course. You're able to shoot other players, disable their ship. And one of the really exciting innovations that's coming from us is through a partnership with a company called Metagravity. Now, this is really server infrastructure, backend server infrastructure. It's a dedicated hosting, but more importantly, it's user concurrency. And so one of the bottlenecks that a lot of MMOs are experiencing is how many players, unique players, can you have in any environment at any point in time? And if you think about even games like Fortnite, once you get up to 100 players, you have to start to partition that off. You have to have separate instances that people are playing in. Now, through this partnership with Metagravity, we've already demonstrated 5,000 concurrent users in a single server. And by the end of the year, we're targeting 30,000 users. So a single state and single server where you don't have to worry about making sure you join the same server as your friend, because everybody's in the same world. And it doesn't matter if you're 100,000 light years away from a central space station or on the same or on the central space station yourself, you share that same state. So alongside that, we'll have these competitive combat races with over 100 vehicles racing on the track at the same time, but we could have grandstands full of 10 or 20,000 people that are watching this event live. And alongside all of that, it's going to be coming with the ship mastery. So this is leveling up your ship for completing a certain number of races or winning a certain number of races, that ship configuration, your character progression. So we have and we already have this active economy that's working. So it's all of the elements of an MMO. Your ability to level up, progress, retain that progression, and also engage in a complete gameplay loop, which is a tournament style racing. And that's that's the first real experience. That's when we actually open the doors. We disable the closed access and game key redemption at EGS, and we say everybody is now free to download Star Atlas and play. And what's cool is you really don't need to own anything to play in the showroom. There is a ship model that anybody can load and fly if they just want to experience it. Of course, if you want to get into more of the play to earn elements and the competition elements, you will need to buy an asset. But we have ships that sell for $5. We also have ships that sell for $100,000. So it just depends on what your entry point is. But very wide range of asset classes, and that competitive racing gameplay loop with progression and customization, that's the next thing coming for Star Atlas MMO.
And there's for sure a lot of things coming for Star Atlas. And how do you guys, plan to continue to innovate? And you did such a great work for these 3 years, we can call almost four. How do you guys to plan innovating and drive the digital transformation in the world of cryptocurrency blockchain?
So there's a lot of things I could reference in response to this, because what uh, what I think people largely don't realize is the sheer amount of primitive development that we have to undertake in order to execute on this vision. And what that means is a lot of the tooling and infrastructure and backend tech that you wouldn't necessarily think about when you're building a game. And I don't want to downplay the complexity of building a game, especially a AAA game. We know, so Bethesda just released Starfield, and it's described by their CEO as a game that's 25 years in the making. And that was a lot of the vision and background in the studio of creating a space exploration style game. It took them 10 years to actually build and release that product, which is the inverse of our approach. It's hey, you're going to be getting access to a lot of pre-alpha, alpha content. We have 51 ships that are loadable in the client right now, all flyable, all with unique ship physics. Some of them are gray box, so they don't even have textures on them yet. But you can still go in and explore the ship as a model and use it today, even though it's not finished. And there's a bit of a risk going out, because what is the perception, especially what is the perception of the mainstream gamer if they see an unfinished asset in the game? But we think this is really part of the experience. You're part of the development process, and you get to see the development progression through time. And that's part of the entertainment that we're offering. When the ship that you own started as a gray box, and then you see that new skin on it, and the new animations on it, you feel your asset that you own come to life. And I think that's really cool. Um, so uh, I kind of got off track there on on what the question was, but I I,
No
I just get
worries.
excited about thinking about the way that we release and this iterative approach to new gameplay loops through time.
You're seeing the future is bright for sure. We can say that. And we didn't have a good game in such a long time that will bring those mass adoption from the gamer. And you yourself, the gamers are picky and choosy, and they don't like this and they don't like that. And that's good that you yourself are a gamer and you know what people want for sure.
Yes, maybe a controversial statement, but it is impossible to satisfy everyone, because there's a lot of people with different motivations for participation, and also just different gameplay mechanics that they want to experience. And so I think what we are quite good at is listening to the community, and building around those things that the majority want, and making improvements where we see those improvements are necessary based on feedback again. And it's incredibly beneficial for us. You know, referencing again the idea of a traditional AAA studio, well, you're kind of taking this giant gamble. You're building something behind closed curtains, and your hope is that when we reveal this thing, when we release this product, it's what everybody loves. Um, Through our approach, we're releasing stuff in early stage, and we get that immediate feedback. And if something's bad, we catch it early. We don't have to worry about, we already built everything and now we have to go change everything. We can say, oh, this little feature or mechanic needs a tweak, and we can do that live and make that available for the very next release. So ultimately, we end up with a product that everybody already wants. We know they want it because we built it custom tailored for them through time.
And I can say I'm looking forward to play this game. That's all. And I'm Lbank will have their own skin in the game Starship. Am I right?
Yes, I don't want to spoil it, but we have a custom skin developed for Lbank that's looking really cool, by the way.
Okay, maybe I didn't need to say that.
That's okay. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. And unfortunately, we did come to end of this great talk about the industry we are currently in. And I just want to take a moment and thank you for coming on and accepting the call. And for sure, we did educate the users about the metaverse, gamify, and everything as a whole. But for sure, we did bring them the brighter picture about Star Atlas. And for sure, I'm looking forward for every Lbank user to come and play. And of course, make our community there, and maybe we'll be the pirates.
Well, I love it. I could talk about this stuff for days. Really appreciate the opportunity to be on the show and all of the support, and look forward to seeing a few of you or all of you in the universe of Star Atlas in the future.
Definitely, Michael. Thank you so much for accepting the call. This was your host, Muha, and see you next time. Bye bye.